guys, today I wanted to talk about why I prefer Louis Vuitton leather bags. Now, before I start, I'm going to say that I love them both. I love the canvas and I love the leather, but if I had to choose, I definitely prefer the leather pieces. Now, I know the Louis Vuitton canvas pieces, like whether it be the LV monogram, the Damier Ebene, or the Damier Azur, I know those are like the bread and butter of Louis Vuitton, and it's so loved by so many people, myself included. And there are certain things that I will not compromise on in terms of what I prefer in a canvas versus a leather, and more particular in the canvas. There's certain canvas pieces that I think should only be in canvas, in my collection at least. And I'm gonna go through those really quickly because I'd love to see if you agree or disagree with them. So a lot of these, if not all of these, are offered also in a leather version. And I just don't want any piece of that version in leather because it's just not the same to me. An example of that might be the LV clay. I feel like I know that this comes in a lot of different versions, including leather, and I feel like it's just not the same. It has to be in canvas. The way this feels in your hand, I feel like is just like no other. And for me, it's just, I think it's like, I don't know if it's a texture thing and a size thing, but it just has to be in canvas for me. Same with the mini pochette, has to be in a canvas for me. Also offered in different finishes. The multi-pochette accessoire, I know this is offered in so many varieties, including the leather emprunt in particular. I just can't do that in a leather. I can't envision myself having a leather piece. I feel like that has to be canvas. Same with like the Speedy. Like the Speedy has to be in canvas for me. I can only accept it in a canvas. And same with this Pochette Matisse. This has to be in a canvas for me. I remember when I went in store and I was looking for it like way back when, it was sold out, and he was like trying to sell me on the emprunt version, and I was just like, oh, okay. And I like tried it on and I'm like, it just doesn't hit right. I don't know why, it just doesn't hit right. I had to have it in the canvas and I couldn't take it any other way. So there are definitely pieces in the canvas that has to be canvas for me. So let me know what your thoughts are on those. But I know that Louis Vuitton these days are really leaning into, or at least the last few years, has really been leaning into pushing their leather products. And I completely understand that and why they would be doing that. And by even limiting the Neverfull bags and waitlisting people with the canvas versions, or even I guess the leather versions too, you know, I don't really understand that whole logic necessarily, but anyway, they have a strategy, so, you know, whatever. But there are certain pieces that have to be in canvas. Luggage being another piece. I don't have any luggage, but that's also obviously very iconic to Louis Vuitton. So there are certain pieces that has to be in canvas, in my opinion, but their leather is incredible. And I will say that I don't have like a ton of things that are in leather, but I do have a few. And the few leather pieces that I do have, I have to say, are so different from each other, and they're so unique, and they just make me feel 100 times different in carrying those bags than I do in a canvas piece. I don't know what it is. I don't know why that is, but they make, it's not even that it's so beautiful, because yes, they are so beautiful in my opinion, but it makes me feel a certain way, and I can't get that from a canvas bag. I don't, you know, I just can't. So I'm gonna go through a few reasons of why I think the leather pieces are better in my opinion, or at least preferred. Maybe that's a better way of saying it. I do prefer the leather pieces in Louis Vuitton. And I'll also show you the ones that I do have because I think they're just so incredible. Some of the benefits of having canvas pieces is that it's so lightweight, they're wipeable, they're easy to match with any outfit. They're, you know, recognizable, everybody knows. If you know, it's not like if you know, like it's there, if that's what you want to do. It's just a very carefree type of material. So that is what I do love about canvas bags at Louis Vuitton. On the flip side of that is that I do think that the canvas pieces at Louis Vuitton, the prices are just getting a bit out of control, and in my opinion are just not worth it for so many of those pieces, because now we're pushing into $3,000, maybe $4,000 for a canvas piece with just some leather trim. The other reason I don't really love the monogram pieces sometimes is that I don't really want to be worried about vachetta leather, and I prefer a lighter patina, so that's just not something that you can really control. So there's another reason why I don't really love canvas pieces at Louis Vuitton for everything. But going back to why I love leather, so the 3 pieces that I have in leather, and I'm going to show you before I go into this list, is my current bag, which I'm using right now, and it is so amazing, better than I expected, and just so beautiful. But again, not only the fact that it's so beautiful, it really makes me feel like so good and happy. Like, this bag brings me so much joy. It's a combination of things. It's the color, it's the hardware, obviously, the silhouette, the size, like the functionality. It's just so many things. But like, look at how beautiful this is with the, I think it's debossed. I don't know. I'm always confused, but the debossed leather, and it's just so incredible. Like, there's just nothing like it. I really love the way it makes me feel when I wear a bag. And ultimately, a bag should make you feel really good. Like, anything should make you feel really good. But if you are a handbag lover like me, and I'm sure you are if you're watching this video, is that it just should make you feel incredible. And these leather pieces make me feel incredible. The next leather piece that I have from Louis Vuitton is this City Steamer, and I freaking love this. I've made a couple of videos on this before, and it's just an incredible bag. It is such a sleek, beautiful, understated, really textured, hardy, gorgeous bag. And it really does, you know, even though it's a black bag and it's kind of basic and whatever, there is something to be said about how it feels in your hands, and then therefore how it makes you look on the outside, but how it makes you feel on the inside. Like, this makes me feel really good. So I'll show you my last leather piece. So I want to get into this list first though. The first reason why I love leather pieces at Louis Vuitton is that obviously in leather, the options in terms of color are endless. And you can have really every shade of the rainbow, and it just gives you so much more variety, so much more interest, and a lot more choices in terms of how things go and how you want to present yourself. And color is a huge part of that. The other reason why I love leather pieces at Louis Vuitton is because in leather, you can have so many different finishes. There's just, the options are endless. You can have a metallic finish, you can have a pearlescent finish, obviously the very classic grained leather or the smooth leathers are very chic too. You can have the embossed leather, you can have the debossed leather. Those are all things that just give it so much more variety and just so much more optionality, in my opinion, in terms of design factor. The next reason why I prefer leather at Louis Vuitton is because it does feel more luxurious. Like I said, like the way it feels in your hand is so different than holding a canvas piece. It's obviously because it's leather, it's a lot more substantial. It feels luxurious. There really is something special about the way leather feels in your hand versus a canvas. The other reason why I prefer leather pieces at Louis Vuitton is because you get more value out of it. Now, we can all agree all the prices are going up everywhere among all the fashion houses. And I think for me in particular, paying such high prices for canvas becomes less worth it to me. Canvas is just canvas. There's nothing that special about it, other than the fact that, maybe a Louis Vuitton monogram or damier piece is iconic to the house. But as a product or textile in itself, it's not that special. And leather pieces obviously cost more, therefore they will, charge you more for the product. But I also understand the flip side of that, which is even the leather pieces are going to be capped at a certain point. Like if you watch Tanner Leatherstein's videos, and he totally takes apart different leather bags from different fashion houses, and he really assesses sort of the value of that leather in particular. Every leather is going to be capped at a certain price. Like between the leather product and material that you're paying for and the labor, it's going to be capped. And anything beyond that you're paying, that they price a product at, is going to be gravy for the fashion house. That's the money that they make, obviously. And so what you're doing is paying for the brand. But if I'm going to be paying for the brands, I'd rather pay for a product that has more value associated with it, like a leather, because there is obviously more value. It just feels so much more substantial. And if I had a choice between buying a canvas bag or a leather bag, all things being equal, even in sort of the silhouettes, I would probably go for the leather bag, because there is more optionality in a leather bag than there is a canvas. So the other reason why I prefer leather bags at LV versus their canvas bags is that there's just so much more optionality in terms of design features and design integration. I feel like for canvas pieces, you're much more limited to the type of silhouette that a bag has. But beyond that, when you're talking about just the damier patterns or the LV monogram patterns, beyond that, there's not much more integration of creativity or style or visual appeal in general, because you're really just relying on the canvas. Now, of course, you can do something like a monogram finish where it is painted, and similar to a lot of the Kusama pieces, for instance, and a lot of the other previous collections that have had the special editions, whether it be like the watercolor edition or cherry edition or Steven Sprouse collection or any of those other things. Those options are there, but still I feel like those are limited, because as I said before, the optionality of design features that you can change up with different leathers and leather finishes and leather textures is just, the sky's the limit. There's so much more creativity, there's so much more optionality in terms of design integration in a leather bag, and therefore it can be so much more opulent when you have a leather bag, in my opinion. And and this is like a perfect example too. I mean, just having this kind of patent finish is so beautiful with the embossed leather, and this also just makes me feel so good when I carry this bag. There's a big difference in terms of how, if I carried this bag and this leather finish versus the same exact silhouette in the Alma in the canvas piece, I just think I'll feel very different. This just kicks things up 10 times more in terms of just style and quality and just overall design factor. Again, just my opinion. By the way, I just wanted to clarify that I'm not saying that there's anything wrong at all with having this Alma BB in the canvas piece. I love it in the canvas as well. I'm just saying that if I had a choice between the two, that I would prefer the vernis. But I did consider the damier band for a long time, so I do love that too. And the last reason I feel like I prefer the leather bags is because they are generally, not always, but generally they're a little bit more understated. And, with the exception being like the Empreinte pieces that have like the logos everywhere, or especially the giant monogram pieces, that sort of thing. It's not always the case that it's understated, but in general, the leather pieces tend to be a little bit more understated. Now, don't get me wrong, I love a good logo piece. I know there's been a lot of discussion online recently about quiet luxury versus being a logo hoe. I definitely fall in both of those categories, and I do think there's a time and a place for everything. And it depends on my mood, it depends on my outfit, and it depends obviously on where I'm going. So I don't think that you have to choose a camp. I think you just wear what you like. You know, I didn't get involved in that whole conversation because I didn't want to beat a dead horse. But I do think that, you know, in general, going back to why I prefer the leather pieces, I think that in general, they tend to be a little bit more understated. I find that as I'm getting older, I do prefer to be a little bit more understated. And that gives me a lot more flexibility in terms of how I dress and how I can wear things. Because sometimes if I'm wearing, you know, even a really basic Louis Vuitton canvas piece like this, and if I wanted to wear like a logo belt of another house or even of the same house, I just feel like that's too much. Or if I wanted to wear something else that had another, even if it was a small logo, I feel like that just limits me because I don't want to be walking around head to toe in all logos. So if I'm going to do a logo, it's going to be one piece, and it's probably a handbag, or it might be a belt or something else. So it just gives me a lot more flexibility in terms of how I can dress when I don't have, you know, monogram everywhere. So that's really what it comes down to for me. I think it's just a product of me getting a little bit older and sort of, you know, your taste kind of evolving a little bit. But I don't know if any of this resonates with you, but let me know. I know it's like such a controversial thing sometimes when people are like, oh my God, Louis Vuitton's like, you know, doing away with all of the canvas pieces or their monogram or limiting it or making it a lot more difficult to buy. And I totally get that. Like, I do love a good Louis Vuitton monogram piece. And like I said, I think that that will never go away for me. I don't think it'll ever go away for the fashion house, but I'm always gonna love the monogram pieces too. But I do think that there is something very special about the leather pieces. And I know that, you know, a lot of people are like, well, I prefer to get my leather pieces elsewhere because Louis Vuitton is known for their monogram. But I do think like you should keep an open mind, because if you do fall into that camp, because there's something so luxurious about all of these leather pieces that I have that are so unique and special, and just, again, they make you feel a certain way. So I hope you enjoy this video, and let me know your thoughts again in the comments below, because I feel like it's such a sometimes divisive topic for some people. And if you enjoy this video, then maybe go binge watch some of my other videos, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.